yourself today. We don't need those other people. You're great. You can do the whole thing. Oh, it's so good to be in front of you today. Nice size house today. We are just here to enrich ourselves, right? Woo! And those of you online, thank you for joining us. I am jealous. I wish I was in my bed right now watching Reverend William or Dr. Laura. But I am here, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you. So today I thought I would start with a quote from our beloved Dr. Joe Hooper. Wasn't it great having him here last week? Woo! Oh my God. He's like, to me, he's like a vitamin B12 shot, right? You just, whoa, you're ready to rock and roll. So Dr. Joe would say this quote many times. I've heard it many times in his tenure here. And the quote is this: "Our job as ministers is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable." Oh, you know, and I heard this a lot, and then when I became a minister, I would think of what he said, and the first part I got that part. I'm good with comforting the afflicted. Been doing it for a long time, I got that. That second part, not so good. I don't want to cause pain to people, right? I don't want to afflict anybody. I just want to be the love. But the last couple of weeks, I realized today I must afflict the comfortable. And in that affliction of the comfortable, I am included in that, just to let you know, it's not just you, it's me as well. You see, there's a lot going on in our world today, and we're reacting to it. We're seeing a lot of reaction. We're seeing a lot of things that are scaring us, right? And I think that is calling us to see what's going on inside of us that's causing the reaction. And a lot of us are really comfortable in how we think, what we believe in, what's right and wrong. We're really, really comfortable in that, are we not? Yeah, we're very comfortable. And so to afflict us in that comfort is the call of the day, because we need to lean into it, which is my talk title for today. It's time to lean into it. Lean into our consciousness. Lean into what's going on with a different set of eyes. I was thinking about the gesture of leaning. I mean, look, right? When we lean, I mean, it's comfortable when we're standing straight, but when we lean in, we're coming out of our comfort zone, right? We're coming in. We're coming into a field which we don't know what's out there, but we're coming in because we're leaning in. And I was thinking about the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Anybody been there? Nice. I have not, but I've seen pictures. So I was looking, you know, I'm kind of a geek with like research and needing to know things. And so I was on the internet finding out, well, why does it lean? I'm not really quite sure. So it leans because the foundation is shallow and the subsoil is unstable. However, it doesn't fall over because its center of gravity has been carefully kept within its base. And I thought, wow, that's a really good example of us, right? We can lean in and hear what's going on and listen to people and to have a new outlook that's outside of what we're comfortable in, have a new outlook. But we're solid because there's a gravity inside of ourselves. I like to call that gravity God or spirit or infinite intelligence, chi, whatever you want to call it. But there is something inside of us that allows us to lean into anything and still have that gravity, that strength, that groundedness. So you ready to be afflicted? All right. So there's an epidemic in our world, and I call it the dehumanization epidemic. I see us in social media. I see us with all this information that comes out at us, and I see us taking away the humanity in everybody so that we can see what's right and what's wrong, good, bad, good guy, bad guy, enemy, friend. We have just taken away the humanity because, as we teach here, we are all one. We are not separate from each other. But the way things are kind of showing up in our world today, we're robbing everybody of their humanity and indulging in this very old way of thinking, which has been around for millennium. Well, maybe that's too long. It's been around for a really long time, and it's something that divides us on the inside and the outside. So Carl Jung says this. Any Jung fans out there? Yeah, right? He's so brilliant. He says, we still attribute to the other fellow all the evil and inferior qualities that we do not like to recognize in ourselves. The shadow, right? I don't have that. They're the bad guy. And we do that because we get a lot of tension inside of our minds sometimes, and we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to flesh it out. And so it's so much easier to say, you're the bad guy, not me. And we all do it. I do it. It's just a really natural tendency. And Carl Jung talked about that. And he says we don't like to recognize inside of ourselves all of that stuff. So we have to criticize and attack people and put them in boxes and separate ourselves. That is so far from the spiritual truth of who we are. And I believe it's the call of the day that we mend that. And it starts within ourselves. And I know it is not easy to say, well, what's the shadow inside of me? It's real because we've been hiding from it for so long. But just to be aware that perhaps when we're dehumanizing people or saying they're bad, they're wrong, when we're doing that, to take a moment and say, what inside of me am I blaming out there? Just ask the question. Just ask it. You don't have to get or expect an immediate response. I just think it's so important when we ask questions of ourselves, we're stimulating an answer to come to the surface that could help us, that could heal us, that could make us better people. So Ernest Holmes has this book called Living the Science of Mind, and there's this one chapter on how to get along with people. And I thought this was really brilliant for our times. He says, what we must do is to see that we ourselves are adjusted to others. We neither wish to dominate them nor wish them to dominate us, right? We don't want that for ourselves, so clearly we shouldn't want to do that to others. We wish to get along with them happily. They have opinions that are different from ours. We must be flexible enough to recognize that their opinions are right for them, even though they do not fit into our scheme. Do I need to say that again? We must be flexible enough to recognize that their opinions are right for them. How hard is that sometimes, right? You got family, you got friends, their opinions just are like insane sometimes. Just saying, right? Sometimes it feels like that. I was recalling my past and just the way the world was, and I've never remember seeing such a time where we are so inflamed by each other's opinions that it's turning into such a big thing. I just thought there used to be a little more tolerance for people who had different opinions than ourselves, right? And so Ernest is telling us to really be mindful and give people the dignity of having their own opinions. And if you want to have a discussion, lean in and have a civil discussion, because you know what? There is something for us to learn about everybody's opinions, because everybody's different, everybody's had a different upbringing, and everybody has come to different conclusions about themselves and life. And so when we talk about that, instead of being silos of opinion and rage, when we can step out of the silos, lean in, and have a talk about it, we're going to get places with each other. We're going to feel better. We're going to connect, because we're going to find that human that is relatable, that we all share. So Carolyn May says this: what is right and wrong, fair and just, does not revolve around you. Ouch! Ah! Talk about affliction. Poof! Wow, bomb. But you know it's true. And everything I'm saying, I'm in that too with you. This one, just hit me between the eyes. It's not about me. I'm not the right one. No. You're right for you, we're right for ourselves, but we have to remember right and wrong and fair and unjust are really they're kind of a subjective thing. There's not a universal right and wrong unless you want to talk about love. I'll say that's the universal right, is love. But everything else is just a subjective opinion, and it doesn't revolve around us. How many times do we come into situations and we say, I know I'm right. The rightness is inside of me. It's my consciousness. I know what I'm talking about. And somebody has the opposite opinion, and they think the same thing. So what Carolyn, I believe, is encouraging us to do is to stop fortressing around right and wrong. Let's set it aside and just have everybody be who they are without having the right and wrong labels that we shove onto each other. So Joel Goldsmith said, the weapons of human belief, human concepts, and human thoughts have no power against that person who has consciously realized his oneness with God. And this is where I comfort the afflicted. Because in this understanding of what we might be co-creating in this world today, I say, and we say here, that spiritual understanding and knowing who you are, your oneness, recognizing that everything present is spirit unfolding, when we know that, all these things about opinions and right and wrong fall away. Because we realize that when we stand in that spiritual knowing of what is really real beyond this world, when we see the eternality of being that we all are, like the Tao says, when we see that everything really is orderly, it's all one. When we know that, all this other stuff falls away, and boy, do we feel better. Because our eyes open up to what's possible. We see people with different eyes. We're able to see beyond little containers, cultural things, and we're able to see the heart of the person. The heart, we all got one. We all have a heart and a big, big soul. And when we come to people with that awareness, they shine. They shine. So an ancient healing is before us. I touched on this before. There is an ancient healing that is right here for us. Greg Braden talks about that we are carrying all this ancient energy of needing to make things right, of revenge, of this happened, I got to right that. We need revenge, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. This is really old energy, and we can all see it is not getting us anywhere. It's up to us to do the ancient healing, to be able to see we are done opposing people. We are done with judging people, their actions. We are done with creating a world that just seems to be escalating in this divisiveness, in this anger, in this hate. We're done. We've done it for too many centuries. We're ready now to come and let the heart out, right? The call of the heart. We say it here. It's our motto, our tagline. Changing lives one heart at a time. We are all that change through our hearts. I mean, look around this room, everybody. Lots of different people here, different nationalities, different cultural groups, lots of different people. But I know there's a magic that happens when we walk into this room. Well, we're just seeing people we're so excited are here at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning because we know what we're here for is spiritual nourishment. We're not here to judge each other. We're not here to be angry. We're here to be the love. And part of this ancient healing is all of us here in the seats and all of you here at home. We're here to say enough. We're here to say we're ready to take better energy forward that is based on love, to heal the shadows within our unconscious mind, and to come from a place of clarity, of focus, of love, of compassion, of understanding, acceptance. Doesn't that feel good? Yeah. So much better than hate, anger, rage. Those are buzzkills, right? Buzzkill. I like the higher. So there's this thing called grace. I love grace. We talk a lot about law in here. It's really law of cause and effect. That's kind of a big deal here. But Joel Goldsmith talks about law in a little bit of a different way that I think is really neat and it's really important. And Ernest Holmes said, be open at the top. So his idea of love, he says, the law is for those who live humanly. Grace is for those who live spiritually. And I think what he's trying to say here is that we get really bogged down in the human thing with the law, right? The law, as he says, the very moment we are willing to let go of the law of self-preservation, I have to preserve myself, I need to be selfish. The law of self-righteousness, I am right, you are wrong. The law of self-condemnation, harming ourselves, judging ourselves. When we're able to let go of those, self-condemning others, when we can let go of these laws that we have put in place ourselves because we think we need to stand in those laws because they do some sort of thing for our survival. They allow us to be powerful in some egoic way. When we let go of those laws that we've put on ourselves, and as he says, abide in love. And he says that is, abide in the feeling that love is equally the percent of all. Of all. We're all the children of God. That we can love and share that love with each other. That's when the inner transition and transformation takes place. When we can just stay out of that law of needing to right things and come to love. And grace, it's a virtue or excellence of divine origin. To me, there can be all this law of cause and effect, law of this, law of that, but grace supersedes all of that. When you bring grace in, it dissolves all the laws because grace is about God. And God isn't about holding grudges. God is about seeing the love and the light that is everywhere in everything. So when we go to grace, everything falls away and balances out. I think there needs to be more grace in this world. More grace, and we've got it inside of ourselves to tap into. Shintoism says, do not forget that the world is one great family. Regard heaven as your father, earth as your mother, and all things as your brothers and sisters. I thought this was an appropriate quote for World Religion Day because this is real big truth here. And that's why I chose the song We Are Family, because this is a huge, amazing, spiritually rich family that we are in here and on planet Earth. We are family with everybody. Nobody is outside of that family. And I know in our own little families, we have had struggles, we've had strife, we've had grudges, we've had anger. So if we're like that, how are we going to have all this world be our family, right? We got to heal those so that we can feel our oneness in our family that is planet Earth, to go there, to see that. And if something disturbs us outside, in that family outside of these walls, guess what? There's something in here that needs to be healed. That needs to be healed. So the need for connection and community is primal, as fundamental as the need for air, water, and food. I've spoken about my journey to this beautiful space. And many years, God, maybe even decades, I had no spiritual family. I kept to myself. I didn't relate. I just was in such a state of inner discord that I couldn't let anybody in because I didn't like me very much. And so I had no family beyond just the 4 people that are in my blood family. And I didn't realize what I was missing by not having a family I could lean into. And what I love about this family here is that we embrace everybody and we love everybody. So that when you're having a really bad day, you can call on us, or you can come to a service, or you can come to a class, and you can feel the love, and you can dispel all of that disharmony that's going on inside of you. Because to me, this is the optimum family to have. This is it in this room. When you know we've all got each other's backs, that whole reality that we step into outside of here is so much different because we feel the love. That love goes with us wherever we go. And this family, it's a teacher, it's a supporter, it's a love, it's a grace. It's a great place to call home. Joel Goldsmith says that our function is to lift the consciousness of those who come to us high enough above the storms of human sense to where they too may feel the divine flooding their being and body. That's what we do here. That is what we do. We don't need to proselytize. We just need to raise our frequency up so that anybody who comes into our field feels it, because we don't need to say a word. They feel it. There's a communication that takes place, right? Above words. There's this whole other field of interconnectivity where we are communicating to each other. So if you're communicating at love and we are family in your world, boy, you're going to see some interesting responses to you. This is what we do. We really just desire to bring everybody to a higher place of seeing their spirituality, their divine nature, because we all have it. We all have it. We've just come to believe that we don't, but we do. And when we liberate people, all of us, we liberate people to see it and feel it because that's what we feel, we're changing their lives one heart at a time. So we are family. Lean into it. I invite you all to lean into this family. That's what we love to do. Lean into us. Lean into people that you have issues with. Lean in and talk to them. Take away the opinions. Take away all of that stuff that divides you from others. Because the truth is, we are all one. So let's start living from oneness. When we live from oneness, the spirit within us rises to the surface. So you don't need to figure it out. You don't need to do anything. Just trust that it will lead you. Lean into it. Ernest Holmes calls God it. Lean into it. Lean into that which takes you out of your comfort zone, your fortress of righteousness. Lean into this world. When you lean in with love, when you lean in with the embracing of others, you're changing everything, including yourself. So I want to thank you for coming today, for being a part of our family, and thank you for listening to me. Namaste. Thank you.